Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I am, as always, your host, Marco Mazzola, and we have all of our ranters on duty today. Hello, Mila.
Heyo.
Hey, Larry.
Hey.
Bruno.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to stop taking amphetamines.
What's wrong? We stop sniffing glue.
Stop smoking.
So, April Fools, everybody.
April Fools just happened.
This just happened. So this month we're going to be working on spoof movies. We're going to go over movies in honor of April Fools, right?
Tomfooleries,
some tomfooleries and goof movies. So today we're going to talk about Airplane, the original from 1980, starring Leslie Nielsen.
Star-studded cast.
Very much so. Robert Hayes, Julie Haggerty, a fun creep of Abdul-Jabbar in there, Peter Graves. I mean, the list does go on and on. And this is probably one of the first sort of spoof movies I remember seeing. Because, I mean, it is one of the older ones, you know, when they really started getting hot in the 80s.
It really kind of launched the genre.
It really did. So who wants to go around and who wants to do the... I mean, there is a story, technically, to this.
Is there?
There is
a story.
I could do a quick...
It's a spoof on the movie 0 Hour from 1957.
And Airport, too, right? As well as Airport.
Airport, yeah. I mean, essentially, guy loves girl, girl's going away. He wants to follow her, he wants to be with her, but she's like, you know what, this just isn't going to work out with us because you're still hung up on stuff that nobody really cares about, essentially, right? Because he keeps talking about the war. She was like, nobody cares about the war anymore. Like, just you.
Well, he was a fighter pilot.
Right, he was a fighter pilot.
His squadron went down over Macho Grande.
Yeah.
Never over Macho Grande.
Never over Macho Grande?
Never
over Macho Grande. Ladies and gentlemen, settling. There's going to be a lot of that for the next hour.
Jesus.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God, this is so good.
So, you know, she's going away. She's a stewardess, and he's like,
Julie Haggerty we're talking about.
I want to be with you, and he gets on the plane with her, you know, and the whole movie is he's now on the plane, and they have food poisoning. So the pilot and the co-pilot, everybody has to.
They're all down.
So he has to fly the plane, and he has to get over his.
He has to get over Macho Grande.
He has to get over
PTSD.
his
It's never over
PTSD
Macho
from
Grande.
flying, and he ends up landing the plane, and dun dun dun, they're all happy. That's in a nutshell.
And then Otto takes off at the end.
Yeah, and Otto takes off at the end with the other blow-up stewardess, Mrs. Otto.
Yeah.
That, by the way, that psych egg would never have worked nowadays.
Oh.
I mean, it's too bad because it was hilarious.
Let's just get that past now. We know that much of this would not work.
Yeah,
would
there's
say- I don't
like
know
a
how much
solid
of it.
70 to 80% of
There's a
this
lot.
movie is like...
You have mental illness in this thing. You have a lot of different things that you just cannot.
Yeah, you got a lot of stereotyping.
Yeah, when they're beating that
There's
lady, the line of people
God,
beating
that
that
was
woman
so
up to get her to calm down.
90%
Oh
of
my
this
God.
movie doesn't
She's
fly
having
today.
anxiety over what's going on, and you had like people lined up.
Here, let me take care of it. No, here, let me try.
They got guns, bats, wrenches, like everything they can. It's okay, miss, and they shake her and they start punching the crap out of her.
You see the guy with boxing gloves, crowbars, the nun with like a gun or something.
Yeah, the nun had the gun. Again,
Oh my God.
so I have this in my notes. Like I tried to take notes for this. I tried.
As you do.
I mean, taking notes for this is essentially quoting the entire script.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Every line
Yeah.
was amazing.
Even like
Right.
the little.
It was all hits.
Even the little side things, right? That like you have to pay attention to. It's like you know, with the opening credits is they're complaining about the red zone and the white zone. If you're not watching the movie, you don't know what's happening until like
There's no parking in the red zone.
There's no parking in the white zone. Red zone's for drop-offs.
Red zone's for drop-offs.
You know that goes on.
No, the white zone is for loading. There's no stopping in the red zone.
There's no loading in the white zone. There's only stopping in the red zone. But there's no. This is how we are at home, and this happens within like the first 3 minutes.
Right.
Yep.
Because I had to stop going, wait, what? In the first 3 minutes, there's like 15 different hits. I went, oh my God, taking notes for this is going to be close to impossible.
Yep.
So it was like, it just, you can't. Like I started to, there was certain things that I kind of saw that I tried to write down and like, yeah, 13 minutes in, I think I kind of stopped trying to write everything.
Yeah, because like I said,
Yeah.
you're basically transcribing the entire script. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, literally.
Oh, yeah.
There's a quotable moment every couple minutes, every couple seconds.
Yeah, quotable moment. Something quotable every kind of couple seconds.
Even
And
in the
there's
same in the same sentence, you'll find multiple things. I'm like, oh my
things
god.
that you can quote, and then while they're quoting, there's shit that's happening in the background. Like again, he pulls up to the cab, leaves the cab, and he was like, "I'll be right back." He just sets the timer, and the guy just chills there in the cab the whole time. End of the movie. I'll give him 20 more minutes. So he's been in the cab the whole time. When they're checking in the X-ray machine, guys walking in, and you see the X-ray machine, and it's an actual skeleton. And then it's like, all right, empty out your pockets.
The metal, yeah.
The guy takes out his pockets, undoes his hand, undoes his leg, and I'm like, what the?
Everything
13
that
minutes
can
in, I'm
happen
like,
happened in the best
Yeah,
way.
it is impossible almost to take notes, like pinpoint anything going on in this movie. Just to realize that it's a hysterical movie. It's one of the, to me, it's still one of the best, like, Abrams Zucker movies that they made, right?
yeah.
It really did, like Bruno said, it launched the genre of these spoof movies. It really, I mean, I'm sure there was maybe there was a couple before it, but it really took off. It is different than, let's say, like a Mel Brooks version of like a Young Frankenstein or something like that. To me, it's in a different category.
It is. It's.
I don't know. I mean, where's the distinction? I feel like they're both parody. This one's a little bit more maybe sight gag-ish, and they take it to a different level.
That's what I mean. It pulls itself apart. Where like even the Mel Brooks movies, and I'm not saying they're trying to take themselves seriously, but like there's still it's more of a story in like let's say Young Frankenstein, where it's like it's a different type of story on Frankenstein or whatever, and this is just sight gag for joke for joke. It's always the story is so much of a secondary issue, and then it's just really just trying to throw sight gags at you. Whereas I think like a Young Frankenstein, Men in Tights, Spaceballs, there's a real story behind it, but then they're throwing in the sight gags and things like that. But they definitely don't hit you as often.
They don't hit you as often,
Yeah.
like as evidenced by the fact that Larry, you got 13 minutes in and you couldn't. You had to stop.
Yeah.
I literally had to stop.
Like there are so many hilarious quotable things.
Right,
Like I use
Robert
them all.
Stack comes in, right? He's the guy who's going to save them.
He's
going
the
to
serious guy.
land the plane, and he takes off his glasses, got another set of glasses,
second set of glasses.
another set of aviator glasses underneath.
And I knew a guy that would do something like that. Like he would, this is in the corporate worlds, right? So in a meeting, he'd have his glasses on because he needed them to read. So they'd be like, "Hey, Joe, what do you think about this thing?" And he'd sort of do that pause, and he'd take off his glasses, and he'd tell you about whatever he needed to tell you. Then he'd put them back on, speak for about 5 more seconds, and pull them off again dramatically. and I would just laugh because he was a really good guy, but I would just laugh at the way he used it as a tool.
Yeah, right.
And this just took that, again and again, which I think is exemplary of like this movie. It was just, it was like common things that happen, taken to level 11, right?
At
to
least.
where they just kept going with the joke and go like the guy with going through the metal detector. He puts his hand and then his leg comes off and then it just kept going and you're like, all right, yeah, I get it.
But you know what I do appreciate? So you just said like that, the gags kept going. And this is something that I've always had a problem with is when you tell a joke, like the first time they do it, it's fun, and the second time, it's like, no. By the fifth time, because they just kept going with it, it's like, all right, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that with this one. With some of them, like for instance, the guy that went through the metal detector, it was only like a quick hit, and then they never went back to it. Like you didn't see it over and over and over.
Exactly.
Whereas a Mel Brooks film would have gone again.
Maybe a couple times.
They would have worn it out.
And,
Right.
and some of the other movies that we watched, with some of the other movies that we watched, they kind of did that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
This never went on
You're
long.
absolutely right, and I think that is
they're quick snap hits.
Yeah.
Unless it's
And it's
like
a
a
good one.
deliberate, like there's a couple of running jokes, you know?
I picked the wrong week too. Is a running joke.
That's a running joke, but
right, we just kept changing
or
what
like
he was to stop me.
Like,
So that was
what's
a good
that? And it's like,
recall.
oh, it's where the pilots are. It's like, no, like what's the problem?
There's a problem in the cockpit. What's that?
That's where the pilots.
go.
That's not important right now.
Shirley, you can't be serious. I am serious. Stop calling me Shirley.
And then that was the end. Like, and that was the thing. Like with this
I
movie,
just want to tell you, we're all
especially,
counting on you.
but this movie, it was constant hits. And again, and if you weren't paying attention, you're gonna fucking lose something.
Yeah.
I
But they were one-offs, right? And that, like you said, to your point, there were one-offs that they weren't like constantly calling back to, and you're like, all right, this is really well done.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? So let's take this back to 1980. We've talked about this before. The attention span you have to have, because this isn't on streaming. It's not even really on videotape at that point. Like it's 1980. So you're not talking like really mass home VHSs until like mid 80s, where everybody has a VHS player. You watched it once in the theater. Maybe you went back again. You missed a lot of shit because things come at you so fast.
You're gonna have to watch that movie like 4 or 5 times in theaters that week.
I feel like I just watched it again. I feel like there was something I probably saw this time. It's like something in the corner. A sign is written weird. You know what I mean? Just trying to get see if you're paying attention.
There's a lot of good stuff like that.
Right. And you're definitely not catching it all on the first run.
It's funny. Like I can't even unpack any of it because there's just so much.
The game show, we get Gary Coleman to host. The iron on.
The magazine shelf. It's fiction, non-fiction, whacking material.
Yeah.
I mean, any chance they got to stick something, a spoof on something, a joke, a play on something, they
didn't miss any opportunity.
No,
right? They took every single one.
And it was all so well done too.
It does,
not, and there's sometimes that like a joke gets old because like they take it. Oh, like what was I gonna say? It was like.
Don't worry, we're just recording it.
Oh, my bad. It's like sometimes like there are situations where they could make a joke and they do make a joke, but it's easy. Like it's an easy one.
Yeah.
You know? This doesn't do that. It's
it doesn't feel
creative.
like that. It's very creative.
Super creative.
I mean,
like yes, it could come up. Like yes, they could make it, but they do make it, but like twist it a little bit, you know?
I think a good example of that when they took the names in the cockpit. Over, under.
Oh,
under.
yeah.
What's Roger. What's the Victor?
Overdone.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
done over.
It's like Roger. What?
Just
Roger.
Like,
what?
like you hear it back, the first time you hear it, it's like, wow, that was amazing. And then like you go back, you're like, wow, it was really good. Like
it was super clever.
Yeah.
Holds up.
It was so clean. It was so good.
Yeah.
Like, and that's another part of this. So it's like the delivery between everything. Because again, I don't know how they did this. Like, as far as like rehearsing all these lines, because they're so quick and your timing needs to be spot on. Like there is no delay. There is no
clearance.
Yeah, like
how do they not break? Right.
Well, that's it. How many takes do they have to do? We don't know. Sometimes you used to get like outtake reels in some of these movies.
Hey, Tom, you ever been in a Turkish prison?
Never seen a grown man.
Never seen a grown man naked.
So you went there.
Do you like gladiator movies?
That might be like the only thing that makes me go, ooh,
That's a little pedophilia shit.
I mean, it was definitely pedo even back then. I mean,
and I'm like,
and they knew it. They were making
you know what
fun
they
of
say?
that.
If you're scared of pedophiles, grow up. So.
Oh my
God.
You guys don't watch
No.
enough Jimmy Carr, do you?
He did it again.
He did it again.
Brother, we can't get through one podcast.
You guys don't watch enough Jimmy Carr, do you?
All right, we're done. All right, let's
Go watch
wrap
Jimmy
it up.
Carr and get back to me. You
Oh
people
my
suck.
God.
Go watch Jimmy Carr and get back to me.
Something with the dark hair.
Yeah, he's
he
a
does all
tall
the dark,
looking
the
British
English
guy. Looks like a stick figure.
I've seen his stuff, and there's definitely some of it I'm like, ooh.
Oh yeah, but he leans into it.
Oh, I
He tells
know.
it right at the get-go. Listen, you're going to be settle in. If you think it's gonna be happy and fluffy, you're in the wrong place. Because we're gonna get bad. We're gonna get offensive,
Good
and I'm
God.
canceling my career tonight.
Oh boy.
Jesus.
Another thing
that's light compared to something that goes after.
When he's on the phone, on the courtesy phones. I wrote that down because I was like, wait, what was that? It was like, gotta hang up that phone and pick up that phone. It's like, give me him on 5, hold the mayo. Fucking had me dying. Like, that's because he's gotta go from one phone to the other.
I had to rewatch this one too because I've seen both the first and the second one so many times.
I watched
As
the
they
second
kind
one
of
because
blend.
A lot of
blend
times,
a bit.
this and Naked Gun kind of blend together for me too. Like like the comment in Naked Gun when she's like, he never takes an extra coffee at home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he never.
no,
vomits
that
at home.
happens here.
Yeah.
That happens in Airplane, not in Naked Gun.
Right. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I thought.
See?
I thought that was Naked Gun, and it was here.
It was here.
So like I'm in the same way. Like it was good to rewatch it, even though I just fucked that up.
That's all right, but that's what happens.
So talk about some of the characters, like Robert Hayes. What do you think of Ted Stryker? I like the character. What do you think of Robert Hayes as sort of?
I thought he was perfect. I don't have any issues with him portraying it. I mean, he's not in my mind like he wasn't even then like a super famous. Maybe he was, but I mean, I didn't know. I was a kid.
Yeah.
So it
didn't
didn't affect my appreciation of it. It didn't, even Leslie Nielsen started out as like a serious actor. Like,
Yep.
And so but I didn't know. I mean, again, being a kid, I didn't know anything about that. So
to me,
this whole movie was just
he's there. It's obviously very centralized around him, and with a few exceptions, I don't particularly find him that funny. I don't find his slapstick is
I
not.
think his
think
deadpan delivery was really
sometimes
good.
it can be really good, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just a little. It's just almost a little off. And, I like when he has his drinking problem.
Oh my God, I love the
Himself in
drinking
head with
problem.
whatever it is, orange juice.
You're talking
Like-
about Stryker.
Yeah, Striker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
how I
yeah,
developed
I-
my drinking problem.
Yeah, he just hits himself in the head with a cup.
Yeah,
The old lady basically kills herself to get away from him.
That was, oh my God.
I don't think
talking.
I don't think he was the comedy foil, right? I think Leslie Nielsen was the comedy foil.
Yeah,
So
he's more the straight man.
he was a straight man.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he did have some moments, right? He did have
Yeah.
some stuff that he was doing, like when he
But his
when he
ex-wife.
escapes and he throws his jacket, the jacket comes back at him and hits him in the face.
I like Stryker. Again, like you said, Bruno, his deadpan delivery, I thought was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a couple of moments, but I didn't really look at him for the funnies.
Yeah.
I was looking at Lloyd Bridges for the funnies. I was looking at Robert Stack for the funnies.
Leslie
I was looking
Nielsen.
at Leslie
Yeah.
Nielsen for the funnies. I wasn't looking at him for the funnies. Like he's not he's not what made me go, oh, this movie was good. But he's also not a reason why I would say that the movie was bad either. Like if he didn't like it, I don't think for me he was kind of just like there.
Yeah.
Like you said, Mark,
I would have to agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, granted, the story kind of sort of does involve him.
revolves
It
around
revolves
him.
around him. But I wasn't looking to him.
I mean, it's
to
his
deliver.
journey, right? It's his journey to get
But
Elaine
I wasn't
back.
looking to him to deliver the funnies for me. So
Yeah.
that's just how I felt about him. Honestly, I thought that she was funnier than he was.
Elaine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd say so.
But for me though, it was like she has almost that kind of same, that same sort of that deadpan delivery. It's like
She's sort of the
both of them were just
absent-minded
there.
deadpan.
Yeah.
Like she knows something's wrong, but she's not quite sure what's wrong.
Yeah.
Going on. So she always has a bewildered look on her face. She had the same look in Noises Off. She was one of the stagehands who did the role.
Who are you talking?
Julie Haggerty.
Yeah, she's great though.
Yeah, no, she
Oh, yeah.
she
She's
has
got-
that
she's
kind of
got the crazy.
She has that
the
crazy eye,
look.
like, what happened? What just happened?
Well,
that
that's
kind of
why
look on
she
her
was
face, like-
perfect in
She was.
A Christmas Story Christmas.
Yes, that's right.
So
I enjoyed Steven Stucker,
Yep.
who has passed away, but he played. He was in the airport. What was his character's name?
He's the flamboyant one, right?
Johnny Henshaw.
Yeah.
So he was,
yeah.
I can make a hat. I can make a turn out. I can make a
He
bro.
he unplugged the lights to the runway. I was like, oh, just kidding.
So I saw that.
Iron on.
He was really good. He was only
Really
in 3
good.
movies. He ended up passing in the 80s.
He was
of
only
AIDS.
38 when he
Yeah,
passed.
he
Yeah.
passed
Oh,
of
wow.
AIDS. It was
Yeah,
the
he
80s.
was young, yeah.
So he was good. Like, what do you make of it? I can make a brooch. I can make a pterodactyl.
Hat or
So
Make a hat.
good. So good. His delivery was perfect.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
And what was it?
A game show. Get Gary Coleman to host. He just
he
bounces
jumps
up.
out.
They made the
Jumps in.
And Leo's getting larger.
Yeah, he literally jumps in
I
frame,
still
does the thing, and
use
jumps
that
out.
quote.
Oh yeah.
That's so
Leon's
good.
getting larger.
And
I love how he does it. He jumps in, does his thing, and then literally jumps off
jumps
frame.
out. It's
Yeah.
perfect. But again, there was a lot of
Again, beat for beat.
Just that quick,
yeah.
that
Just
quick
like that.
walking by. He just quickly says the
Yep,
off
says
thing,
a
and
little-
boom.
And then he's like, you're like, wait, stop, rewind, pause,
you
play
say?
that
The
again.
other times I've rewinded in this, I'm
you
like,
have?
yeah, wait a minute.
You do.
This
Again,
was
like
a
I said, in
movie-
the 80s, you couldn't do that. You missed
Yeah.
it. You just missed it.
This was a movie that was an hour
like a
and a
holiday
half
special.
long.
You weren't there for
I think
Rudolph
it
the
took
Duck.
maybe 2 hours and 20 minutes for me to watch this because I would stop it, write a note, stop, pause, rewind, wait a minute. I watched this with the wife.
It's not bad for an hour and 28 movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was
And
an
she's
hour.
like, will you let the movie
Just
No,
let the
but
thing
she was
play.
like, she gets it. So when I tell her I have to do, homework for this, she's like, oh, can we
Right.
watch it? Like, she's 100% behind it.
Awesome.
So when I told her the movie, she was like, all right, I'm watching Airplane with you. I was like, I bet we're watching
Because it's so
Airplane.
good.
Because it
It's
is.
so
It is.
Fog's getting thicker.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Leon's
It's
getting
larger. Fucking hilarious. The Honey Christians at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
He's walking, he's taking him out as he goes.
And he's taking that, and he's like,
Would you like to donate to the? Would you like to donate to the?
here's the thing, Mila. Back in the
I think one of them
day,
is
that was
Jimmy Abrams.
a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the 80s, you would go to the airport and you would see that. Like you would see this different sex saying, hey,
David
get to
Leitch's
this.
the
Oh
other
my
one.
God! So that was like that was kind of like
So that's
oh.
taken
that
out of
was
like
legit.
real life.
Wow.
They would bring these flowers, and then eventually they were going through too many flowers, so make paper flowers, and they would try to give you that and ask for donations.
Oh wow!
And there's actually a psychological study done to show that if you give somebody something, they will naturally feel obligated to
give something back, yeah.
Wow.
Because you inherently have a feeling that just got something for free.
The
and I need
reciprocity,
to,
yeah.
Closest thing I've ever had
it's
to
called
that
the
was that-
reciprocity principle.
Oh, yeah. Closest thing I've ever had to that was when I was in Boston and they tried to scam me and go like, "Here's this cool medallion thing."
Yeah.
Yeah, here,
Now,
have this thing.
now, whoa!
I was just talking
you
to one
gotta
of the
pay
moms
for
about
that.
I was just talking about one of the moms, like they do that like in foreign countries, like in Europe.
Yep.
And like that.
I just
They
stopped.
do, like,
I
they
just
give you,
stopped my
like, a
dad for
friendship
falling for
bracelet.
it.
That's
We have
right.
a gift for you. It's a friendship bracelet, and then like they turn around, and go, okay, now we want money for it. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you got to take your friendship. Our friendship has ended.
Yeah,
That's
my
it.
wife and
Yeah.
I were on the beach in Mexico, and they were doing that.
Yeah.
Like they come up and say, "Hey, I bring
Yeah.
a bracelet for you and one for the wife and whatever," and they were like, "Can we have $10 or $20, whatever?"
Yep.
It is.
You see that a lot in,
But thank you
in
for the
certain
gift.
places like that. I've gotten caught up like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, son of
That's
a
a pretty
bitch, you got
standard
me, like
procedure.
you bastards.
See, the thing is, I knew about it beforehand. I was like, I know this. So I had to like steer away. A friend of mine too. I was like,
Were
they're
you
like,
throwing
but
elbows?
what about that? I'm like, no, we keep walking. We pretend they don't exist.
We're walking.
Oh, look at the
look
pretty
at 'em,
things
don't
over
look.
there. Let's go run over there.
Yep, that's it.
Oh my god.
The little boy.
Yes,
I guess it's
Joey.
it's the 80s, right? So
Joey.
Gee
we have
willikers.
the little Republican boy going to bring coffee to the little Republican girl.
God.
And this is again another part of the story that made me go, I don't like that. He says for her, so he brings her coffee and he goes, cream? Her response was, no thank you.
I take it
I take it black.
black,
I
Like
take it
a-
black like my men.
like my man. That's right.
And I'm going, these kids are like fucking 7 years old. Who was like, hey, we got a line for you.
Yeah. But that's what's funny about it.
That
right?
shit was, that
Clearly,
honestly,
she's
And their
clearly not
parents are like,
romantically
"Yeah, it's
involved
fine,
with
I don't
anybody
care."
yet. And
that
here
shit
she
was kind of
comes.
He's in
hilarious
the movies.
though.
I don't care.
Now that line came out in 1980. This is now 2023.
And I still
I still use
line.
that. Like,
still
I was
use that
at work last week. Someone's like, yo,
Coffee.
how to take your
Black like
coffee?
I take my
Black
man.
like my man.
Like, yo, hey,
At
yo.
least my wife laughs and knows
Who
it's
was
a
it?
joke.
There's a reverse joke that somebody did. Is like, how do you take your coffee? It's like
Here he goes again.
I take my
Be
coffee
careful.
like I take my women, strong black with a little prune Danish on the side.
What?
That's what they strong black and a little prune Danish. I forget who's.
Go
that.
ahead, say it again. Go ahead.
All right.
Oh my god.
It was a comedian who
I
said
got-
that as a joke. I can't remember who it was.
We're gonna
I
have
think
to
it was
come up
Robin
with a
Williams.
sound. We're gonna have to come up with a sound
Yeah.
for you.
It's called.
I need a soundboard. I need a soundboard. I'm like. I love that on the IMDb page they gave Otto his own.
Is that, so I was just
His
going
own
to
name,
say,
page.
And it's
Otto,
Otto.
Otto's
wow.
played by
Otto by Otto.
Oh, I love that his name's.
And the smile on his face
Yeah.
is hilarious.
Now, why did he get the smile on his face?
Well, yeah.
Because
He's a happy
he had a
Because
you
he's
know,
happy.
he had a pretty happy moment. I think.
He had a happy moment. He started to deflate.
He was in the
Oh
end
no,
of
that's
the
the only
movie.
way is
He
to.
made it to the end of the movie,
Blow
so
him.
therefore he had a happy ending.
He had a happy ending.
That's
Oh,
right.
man. When, again, first time I saw that, young child, definitely shouldn't have been watching it, but I watched it.
I mean, we all did.
I know, right?
It's
like,
PG.
and this is
It's peach.
It's rated PG, but that was when I think when the ratings were a little looser.
Yeah.
than
They were definitely
today.
looser, but we also
The
we
parents
had
were
no
more
idea.
quite-
You have
That's
no
what PG-13
idea.
As a
didn't
kid,
do
I
this.
didn't know that was a
No,
that was a
1980, I was
away from
fellatio.
blow.
Yeah.
1980, I was 4.
That
you know
was
what I mean? Like
so
I went to,
funny.
I'm sure I went to the
Yeah.
movies to see this.
None of us knew shit about like what they were saying. Like when the girl was like black like my men, I'm sure I was like, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about.
I know what? Who? All right, that's
You know, you
funny.
just kinda keep watching.
You're funny because you're drinking coffee, and that's an adult thing, and you're not an adult
And
to
that's
drink coffee.
right, and that's the joke
And
we
that's
took
the joke,
away with
right?
it, right?
Right,
That's
yeah.
the joke they take away with it. Not
that
the
she's a 7-year-old woman with a girl with a
girl who's talking about she takes her coffee like her men,
Like her
strong
men.
and black. What the fuck?
What? I'm sorry. what?
So when they do the flashback, right, and Straker's in there, and he's in the hospital.
Striker.
So,
Striker.
Oh, the hospital. I know what you're talking about.
So he's like, oh, what's wrong with this
Take 5.
person? And he's like, oh, he was in the foxhole or whatever. And goes, and what's wrong with that person? He goes, oh, that's Lieutenant Horowitz. Yeah, Lieutenant Horowitz thinks he's Ethel Merman. That's actually Ethel Merman,
It is actually
which is
Ethel
the
Merman,
best part about
That's
it. That's
so
actually Ethel
good.
Merman.
Oh my god.
And I was reminded, because I've seen that, I've seen this movie countless times, and every time that comes up, I'm like, oh shit, that is Ethel Merman. So this time again, I was like, oh shit, I gotta write this down. That is actually Ethel Merman.
Nice. I mean, so those are the kinds of they had a lot of cameos, right? Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in there. And
So, but
And our favorite token, James Hong.
James Hong's there.
yeah.
He's the
Once
Japanese
again,
general.
Once again.
Right?
We can say like a drinking game. James Hong!
Yeah, my God. Like, how many movies have we watched that he was in?
I know.
Like, we've done
Plenty.
so many. And I did the same
I
thing.
love
was
how
like,
we keep bringing him
holy
up.
shit.
Every month, we got to bring him up somewhere.
Well, because he just happens to
but
be in
it
a
seems
movie.
like it'd be really easy to do.
He's got
a James Hong movie.
452 actor credits.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? They're just actor credits are 452. So, you know, we got a good chance.
Yeah.
We've only done 23 episodes, so we got a good chance.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right before we see Lopan.
Lopan.
That's what I have written. I'm going, yo, Lopan's in the movie.
He still has 4 upcoming.
Jesus!
He's got 1
He's
for
still
That boy just
acting?
He's
working.
got 3 in production and Kung Fu Panda 2.
Oh,
is
there we
coming out
go.
Next year.
No.
That's obviously, you know,
Kung
Kung Fu Panda 2 came out. They're
Kung
coming
Fu Panda
4?
4, excuse me.
Okay.
There you go. I'm like,
Hello.
wait a minute.
Excuse you?
Kung Fu Panda 4, which is coming out next year, and then he's got 3 other movies he's in production right now.
Love that guy.
How about when they had the jive
Born in
speak?
1929.
Oh, my God. I
I was
speak
gonna get to that.
I'm
jive.
not going to
This
say
guy's
it.
just shy of 100. He was born in 29.
Her jive speak was spot
93.
on.
So,
When she pulled that out, I was like, oh my. Even back then, I was as a kid, I was like, what is she
Damn,
talking
she does
about
speak
right now?
jive.
so
That's crazy.
Mrs. Cleaver was taught that specific by those guys. They were like, they had like a real guy that actually like
Sure.
could that spoke jive.
Yeah.
And they had to like teach her how to do that. And then when because I was reading on the trivia or something like that when they did it, that when she did it, they were like, holy fuck, that sounded really good.
Yeah.
And till this day, I always say, like, when I try to help people, and I was like, fine, jive circuit don't want no help, jive circuit don't get no help. And I always say, I was like, yo, that's Mrs. Cleaver. They're like, who? And I'm like, fuck me. I hit you with 2 things, and
Lame as shit,
you don't know
you don't
either
know?
one of them?
So it was good stuff.
God, that is so funny. Oh my God. Yeah, I love that scene. I'm like, holy shit.
When she pulls the guitar out
Yeah.
to sing a little melody.
And she keeps taking it.
Everybody's vibing. She
gets
rips
knocked
out
out
the
the
chord.
chord.
Rips out the chord. The little girl's like dying.
That was the psych game there was good.
Yeah.
Oh my God, those.
What song was she singing? Some Over the Mountains or whatever. Something.
Some John Denver song.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying
John
John
Denver.
Denver because when I think
No,
of
no,
music
I think it
like
was a
that,
John
it's
Denver
John
song.
Denver.
Right.
The cockpit.
How soon
what
can
is-
we land? I can't tell. You can tell me. I'm a doctor.
The cockpit. What is it? It's the little room at the front of the plane. But that's not important. Shirley can't be serious. I am, and don't call me Shirley.
Yeah.
Standing in line to calm her down. So I mean, again, these are all things that we've already.
Oh,
hit.
yes. So one of the things I remember
what I like
was.
about the with that one is with the whatever something is, they run it right into Airplane 2. They continue the same shit in
Yeah.
Airplane 2, and he's just like, it's the
Yeah.
sun. What is it? It's a big ball of fire in the sky. But that's not important right now.
It's so important right now.
I can't even count how many quotes from Airplane I use
Yeah.
in my everyday life.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Especially
And
now that I have
too,
little
yeah.
kids that ask questions like that. I'm like,
Like, don't say it. Don't say it.
opportunity to shine. This is my chance.
You gotta go like, yes, but you have to do it quickly, so we gotta resist that.
Yeah, and then they look at you like, what? And I'm like, never mind, your mom understands.
You'll find out later. How old are you? 5? 2 more years.
2 more years.
2 more years.
You'll find
A
out.
couple more.
Why?
Yeah.
Why is Clarence's wife cheating on him with a horse?
Yeah, that was. I was like.
That was a little
I was
weird. I
Like,
was
yo,
like-
huh? Hey,
She was
hey,
like,
yo.
she gets up. She goes, see your cell phone. I'm like, that's a fucking horse. You just took it from
I'm
a
like,
horse.
yo.
Wait a minute. You're not dead.
This was the 80s.
This was the 80s.
and
This is the 80s.
It was very sexually liberated.
Yeah.
a
When
little too
much.
Too
a little
liberated.
too much. When he
That's how
goes,
she likes her coffee. Got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
When the
Strong with a
assistant
good
goes
kick.
to get him at the house, and the dog that was. That like the German Shepherd that just kept going. She's like, no, he's okay.
That was
He's
a
fine."
golden retriever. Like, it was one of those nice dogs, too.
That was awesome.
So the way that they got
It's
the
like
dog to
right-
jump all over him is if you look at his hand, it's clenched. He's got like a beef jerky or something in his hand. That's
Okay.
Yeah,
they
it's
do that
funny.
a lot with movies.
Yeah, I assumed they probably like muted what was going on, like replaced it with like growling. But I thought he was just riling the dog up. Like he's like, oh, like over there.
That,
you know?
That's definitely part of it.
Probably
Like
part of it.
that's how
Yeah.
that's how you get
Oh,
the
yeah,
dog
like
over. You
with
get
the-
him 'cause
with
he's
the
got
treat,
You got
you
the
know?
food. He's like, hey, you got treats. But when he's getting ready and you see him in the mirror. And then he walks through the mirror. I went, what the fuck? Like, that cracked me out.
So that kind of shit was like genius, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even think
So
to make
much.
that joke, and they did. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
all right, that was good.
So and again, that was one of those small ones that just hit. Like why?
one-timer,
Like there was
yeah.
no need for it, but it was there. He was delivering a baby in the cockpit. Why? There was no need for it, but it happened. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Just because.
You know, while
It was
she's
very-
blowing auto.
It's very tropish, right?
Yeah.
it was very-
So
they threw a lot of tropes.
Speaking of the trope stuff, though, at least with this movie, the tropes were clever. Like, they weren't tropes just for tropes' sake, like going over the top. And I felt that in some of the other movies I watched, they did, and it was actually kind of fucking annoying.
Looking at you, Hot Shots.
Well, Hot Shots was a little bit later, right? And they took it.
They lead into that.
It was kind of a poor
We'll get to the Hot Shots
implementation.
episode, which I'm almost regretting we're doing.
But I'm looking at a scary movie for that.
I think. Well, we can talk about it in Scary Movie. I think that was better than Hot Shots.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I
mean, don't get me wrong.
Spoiler alert.
Neither of them were great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but
there's
as
certainly no airplane or
even Naked Gun.
or
So
even a
there's the
Spaceballs
preview.
or-
There's the preview for the month. But yeah, no, for like,
there you go.
But for this particular movie though,
Spoiler alert.
with Airplane, it was just they did the tropes. The tropes are funny. They didn't do extra tropes just for tropes' sake. They hit the jokes. It was in and out. It was really fast. And this whole movie, like at least for me, it didn't miss a fucking beat at all. I mean,
True.
The little kid that goes up to
something. Every second has
yeah,
Yes.
and it's
like we can't even stress that enough. Every second has
every second,
something.
yeah. Like listen, if
it
you
was
haven't
all
watched
When
Airplane,
he's flying the plane and he's sweating and then he's sweating more
Oh my
and
god,
it's
that was
like
awesome!
pouring
It was
down his
pouring
face.
down his face.
Yeah.
So those sight gags are used more now, but they're still like back then. That was the first time you'd ever seen that. So
Yeah.
like, fuck, that's hilarious.
So good. Or like getting crash positions.
Yeah.
like flies around.
See what I mean? We could throw out every fucking quote.
In between
every
knees,
single one.
your own knees, Father.
he's like, oh, okay.
The grass positions was a really good
Oh
one.
my god, that was so good.
The little kid when he's up
You
front.
nervous? Yes. It's the first time. No, I've been nervous before.
Before. The smoking ticket when he gets the ticket.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like smoking or not
Smoking or not smoking? Smoking.
And he's walking through with the ticket's on fire, and I'm like, oh Jesus, that's fucking great.
Can we just talk about smoking and non-smoking
Sure can.
planes in the 80s?
Yeah, I mean, this is-
Because that is the stupidest
It's a fucking
bullshit.
tube.
I remember.
That's
I
so funny.
remember
That
flying-
makes no sense.
I remember flying overseas as a kid, and I'd be looking
First
back.
time I went to Italy.
Yeah, that's right. I'd be looking back and I'd talk to my dad and be like, hey, that person back there is smoking. He's like, yeah, that's the smoking section. And I'm like, that's only like 3 seats behind us. I was like, are we in the smoking section? He's like, no. And I was like,
It
then
looks like I can smell it.
shouldn't there be a wall between us?
Something.
So that
Wow,
the
you
smoke...
put way so much thought into that.
I mean, it doesn't take much thought as a kid to think the air's just going to move towards me. Right?
I
Like,
can smell it.
As
I can smell it. It's
hitting
coming
your
at me.
face,
It's
not
you
rocket
kind of
science. I'm
know.
like, why the fuck don't they
You guys,
It's not a
have...
weak
you guys are complaining
smell.
about the diffuser over there.
Goddamn
That's
fans.
further away than that guy smoking was.
Now here's the thing,
Like,
though.
but they somehow thought, oh, we'll make a smoking section
Yeah.
and non-smoking, and then the air just won't come
in
up.
an airplane.
Well, it's
In
the
an
same
airplane.
thing. Well,
In
it's
a
the same thing in
Not like it's
restaurants, though.
outside on
Yeah.
a balcony. It's right there.
Restaurants were the same way.
Yeah.
You would
Yeah.
have that smoking section. This is the non. That's the table's fucking right next to you. I could eat off of your plate. You're in the smoking section.
Removing the smoking indoors in restaurants is the best thing that ever
I'll
happened.
tell you what. As a former smoker myself, I'm so glad. Like that.
Did it help you? Do you think?
No, God, no.
Okay. That means it's interesting.
But now
Nobody likes a quitter, Larry.
I know. But now like it's not that I'm not one of these.
Ding ding, another one from Marco.
I know, right? I'm not one of those people like, oh my God, that's you're horrible and you're the devil's spawn because you smoke.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people
Yeah.
because I get like, look, it's addictive, it's a habit, I get it.
It's an easy habit to pick up.
Super easy to pick up, and now everybody's vaping. Hey, spoiler,
Which
it's the
is
same
a lot.
fucking thing, by the
no,
way.
it's the same
no.
thing,
It's
same
a lot
reaction.
worse.
It's a lot worse.
Because there's more chemicals, but that's
get-
all
And
for a
it's
different
got
thing.
candy flavored.
They've got kids right now after 5 years of vaping with something called popcorn lung.
Yeah, popcorn
Yeah,
lung.
Which is
I actually did a paper on that.
Not recovering.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's
And
real.
That's a lot. That'll kill you like in 5 years. Whereas cancer, lung cancer took 40 years plus. Like you really have to smoke. You get COPD first, emphysema.
Yep.
When you're in the 60s and 70s.
Right, yeah.
It built up.
Yeah.
This is like, go ahead,
This shit
vape,
is
I
like,
dare you.
well, in 5 years I'll be at your funeral. Like it's fucking crazy that
Yeah.
it's allowed.
Yeah.
But anyway, that is.
That's
Yep.
we digest.
That's our anti-smoking section. I like that.
Right.
So, but
don't do
now,
it.
Happy about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Happy
right.
about that.
But now it's like if I'm in an enclosed place and that's all I can smell, I'm like, this is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
Like I used to go to Foxwoods all the time. And there was a certain area that and Foxwoods they were smoking sections, right?
Right.
Right.
When COVID happened and then they opened it all back up, they kind of brought all the smokers into this one little spot.
Yeah.
And as soon as you
Can't
go
even
from
walk through that room. Yeah.
when you go past it,
Yeah.
it would make me gag. And I'm like this, like when you come from Fox Tower into the next one.
That's right.
You come across the walk trolley, and that's where it was.
Passing my
and
parents'
holy shit, like it was heavy.
bad.
So
Yeah, it's bad.
The whole idea of taking smoking outside of the inside is absolutely great. Fucking.
Well, you come back from a restaurant, you don't smell like smoke anymore.
Yeah.
Like we used to. That was the whole deal. Like as teenagers, we'd go out to bars,
Go to the club and stuff like
every
that. One of the
time
worst
you go
things
to
I
a bar
hated
club, right?
was waking up the next morning going, I smell like ass.
Yeah. I knew.
Even though it's mine,
you have
I'm
to
like, this
choose.
is horrible.
You choose
Yeah.
clothes that are both like make you look good that night, and you know you're not going to need for another few days because you got to wash
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Right. Like so.
Yeah.
Like. So cool. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. But yeah, the whole smoking on the airplane, fucking
Yeah.
hilarious. I mean, again, that went right into the '90s because
Yeah.
I went to Portugal and I think I was 13.
Yeah, they were still doing it in the 90s?
Yeah, still doing it.
I don't remember when they banned it.
Man, I think that's early to mid '90s when they started flipping. You could still smoke in internal, like still smoke in the mall, you could still smoke in the courthouse, you could still smoke on a plane. But and then like early to mid '90s, they started not smoking in those kind of places.
1990 was when they banned it. The no smoking was permanently lit on U.S. domestic airline flights.
Okay, so that guy must have caught it like
Yeah.
right at the end.
Yeah.
Then, because that makes sense. But yeah, so just that part of
That's
the
domestic.
smoking.
What about international?
Oh yeah, that would be domestic. Oh, yeah,
That's a good point.
international may have
Is
been
it
a little bit
international?
later.
See, I was listening.
This was, I mean, that was the
I'm
bigger
paying
issue because
attention.
international flights are like 7 or 8 hours usually. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can't. You have a smoke. He's like, listen, I ain't rip a butt. I haven't had it in like 20 minutes.
I can
Let's go.
see my dad now water.
They're like, here's the parachute.
So this
Good
actually
luck.
happened because my dad's been a lifelong smoker, right? And he's still today, even with the COPD, he still does. He doesn't smoke. Yes, he does. So I remember one year we went to Italy, and he's on that plane. Let me tell you, he was the most god awful, annoying son of a bitch you've ever met because he couldn't smoke the entire way.
Yeah.
He would not sit down and shut the fuck up the entire. Like, kept getting up, sitting on a seat. I was behind him. You're turning around, bothering the shit out. I'm like, what are you doing? Go out on the wing and have a smoke because
Yeah, right.
you're fucking killing me. He was driving him crazy that he couldn't smoke. It was like
1988 was international.
it was like he was on meth and he couldn't have his meth. I'm like,
No,
what's
no,
wrong?
2000. Sorry, 2000.
2000.
Okay,
That makes more sense.
2000, the year 2000
Yeah.
was international. Okay, that's
Year-
how. Cause, yeah.
So 1990 for
Yeah, that
domestic,
makes
For
sense.
domestic.
2000 for
Like I was
international.
saying, I was like
Yeah.
13. It was like the summer right before my freshman year. I went to Portugal with my father, and my father's a smoker. And I remember sitting. I was in another aisle with people that I actually
Yeah.
knew,
And
and
that
they were
makes sense
smoking in the
'cause we
same
went to
aisle.
Italy. I went to Italy with actually after 9/11. It was like a year or two, so that would have been.
That still blows my mind. 2000.
I am surprised.
Wow.
But you know what?
I thought it was. I actually did think it
But
was.
remember,
like,
that's like
not
the
that
permanent.
far away.
Everybody did it. Everybody was on board
Yeah.
with that.
International,
It was probably
But
started
flights
to
themselves,
happen.
yeah,
Right.
the individual
Everyone had to
Probably
agree
started
on
to
it. You
happen
know,
sooner
that's
than
gonna
that.
take a little bit longer.
Like I went to Italy a bunch of times in the 90s, and I don't recall being any smoking on the flights.
Well, it could have been. It could have been the airlines themselves,
Right.
Potentially,
you're right.
you know. And then eventually they made a thing where it was like, okay, you
Yeah.
can't now.
Everybody, no matter what.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Yeah.
I gotta extend the quote that you did earlier because this is really funny. How soon can you land? I can't tell. You can tell me. I'm a doctor. No, man, I'm just not sure. Why can't you? Can you take a guess? Well, not for another 2 hours. You can't take a guess for another 2 hours. I keep saying that one. That one went on an extra line or two, but it totally works.
So, one of the things that kind of that goes through this whole movie is really clever wordplay, right?
Yeah.
The whole Shirley, you can't be serious. Like, I am serious. Now stop calling me Shirley. Like, that was at the very beginning when that first came out, people were like, oh, shit, of course you could say that.
Right.
You can understand it that way, And I can't tell. Yes, you can. You can tell me I'm a doctor,
The cockpit ones,
The cockpit ones. Like, all of that wordplay was
It
really
was
clever. It was genius.
Oh my god! Literally watching it, like that's all I could think. I was like, God, how did I not think of that? Like
Yes.
that's so
Yes.
good.
Oh my God! Why did I think of that? That's a really good way to look at that. Yeah.
Every time someone says, hey, they should hit the fan, all I can think of is this movie.
Yeah.
Because then the
Looks like
shit hits the fan.
And again.
Like, and it does that and then moves on.
And just moves on. It's like, all
They
right,
walk
we're
right
done.
past it. Constantly. Oh my god, it is so good.
I mean, again, Lloyd Bridges jumping out the window. Fuck, he's hilarious, man.
He's really funny.
Lloyd Bridges cracks me up in this.
He did a great job, and he normally plays a straight man, so
Yep.
he was fantastic.
Yep.
Yep.
So so now again we go back to this is the 80s. What would this play today?
Nope.
No.
can you get away with? How much of this movie could you get away with?
You-
Give me a
14%.
percentage.
I think you could-
14%.
Wow, that was pretty specific and really fast.
Yes.
So
You already do the calculations ahead of time.
Yes.
I think you could do this movie again by changing some of the gags.
You'd have to change most of the gags.
Yeah, you would have to.
Some of it.
Change 14% to like 80%. I think you're good.
Like this one with.
Then you could get
Lane
away with it because
and
people
the-
do
the
still like
hanging
have
lady.
humor, but like.
Would you like something to read? Do you have anything light? How about a leaflet? Famous Jewish sports legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna play. You
So
can't
you
do that.
wouldn't write famous Jewish sports legends, but you might write something else that would fly today.
Right.
You could, so it wouldn't be the exact same joke.
You would literally have to swap everything that's
Yeah,
like
every joke you would
Well,
have to swap it out with something.
You couldn't have the girl say, "I'll take the coffee like I take my men."
Yep.
But
Right,
you could
yeah.
have her just say, you could have him still approach her and do the, do you want some? Would you like some coffee? Like, because part of the joke is that these two are like 7,
Right.
and they're acting like
That's
grown
part of-
adults.
so-
right?
so you could
that's
definitely
part
word
of
that
it.
differently.
Yeah.
But you'd
So
have
you
to,
could change
you'd
it.
still have to make some like shock zinger that
You
hits you in
have
the
to,
head.
because otherwise
you know?
it's not. It doesn't hold the same.
Yeah, or else it's just going to be like
it's a banner
a diet
ripoff.
version of Airplane.
I do think the conversation they have about parking in the red zone or not, stopping in the white zone, the yellow zone, could be maintained mostly until you start talking about, it's just because you're upset that you don't want me to get pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh,
Change
like,
it.
get it.
You could change it a little bit
Yeah.
and still have that
You can still have that conversation.
Yeah.
The jive is out. That jive scene is not in there.
Could you change that?
How?
It wouldn't be jive because it wouldn't be pertinent these days, but you
Right.
want to do maybe, kind of rapper. If you're looking for the same effect, right, where you're talking like a white person appropriating the black culture.
Well, that's why
you
it doesn't
could have
fly.
like a Kanye. No, but they're making fun of it. They were making fun of that.
Right.
So you could do
But
something.
but I
like
don't think you could do anything that shows appropriating anything. That scene's out the fucking door. There's too many people that somebody's gonna
Well,
find
because
offense to it.
I think you're both right, but I think what you're saying is like the joke is that they're appropriating it,
And that's the.
but the other side, the other people read it as you're making fun of what
Yeah.
they're doing.
No, you're making fun of the
It's going on in
appropriation.
I
circles.
agree. I
Right,
agree
yeah.
with you.
What
I
it is.
agree with you. But I think the problem is there's so many people that are so fucking sensitive. They don't see it your way. They see that as no, you're making fun of the jive, not the fact that somebody's appropriating. You're making fun of the jive.
Well,
and that you can't do.
there are a couple things. There are a couple things in like leeway wise that comedy has that you can't do in straight movies.
Right.
Right. Comedy, when you're making a parody, when you're showcasing. Or spotlighting something that you think is a little bit crazy or whatever. You can go there in comedy. Because, Marco, you're frequently quoting comics that are on the outer edge of like acceptability, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, but like if you were to like stand back and say, if that guy just walked into the room right now and made that statement in all seriousness, you'd be like, totally inappropriate, dude. What are you talking about? But when you put him on a stage and you put it in a comedy context,
Right.
now you're talking like, all right.
So the problem, you're right.
It becomes, all right, he's spotlighting it, he's making content. So what I'm saying is in this particular scenario, and I can't think of a good example right now.
No, you're
but
right,
like,
though.
if you were to take the jive and change it, not from jive to something else where a white woman
Can't do it.
who seems like June Cleaver appropriating black culture would still be funny. If you do it the right way, I think you could do it.
So
I can almost guarantee you can't have it be a white person.
No, but the problem is,
So have it be
Bruno's
like
point,
an
though.
Indian, but you're still doing.
Right, but because
It's the same joke. Yeah, it really is.
But so to Bruno's point, what you're saying with the comedians, the issue we run into is, and I listen to a lot of comedians, not just on their stand-ups, but afterwards, like their interviews and things like that. They're going through a massive problem right now. Is even on stage, people are after them and canceling them left, right, and center because they're doing that. Like, okay, I don't do this in my everyday life, but on stage, I'm spotlighting. And people are getting so offended. It's like you went to a comedy show. He didn't show up at your house and start making these jokes. You fucking went there and you paid money.
Yeah.
You didn't realize who, if you go to a Jimmy Carr concert, you might want to do a little research. You don't just go to a random comic you don't know,
Right,
especially
right.
a big one like that.
Bill
You
Burr.
go down the comedy
Yep.
stop. You don't necessarily know who you're going to see that night.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Unless a big name happens to
It
be on the
happens to
list.
be there, right.
But
But if you
you're
go to
not
a show-
sure. But you go to a big show, you know what Bill Burr is about. You better. You should know what kind of comedy he does. How you go there and get offended? He's been talking about this kind of shit and women and all kinds of things that he does talk about for
But
years.
even Chris Rock's new special, have you guys seen it?
No.
He talks about a whole bunch of things. He actually even brings up the slap.
Yeah, I heard that he did bring that
brought
up.
it
Yeah.
up.
Slap heard around the world. He's
I
still,
heard that he did bring that
he's
up.
still upset about it. But that aside,
I would be.
Chris Rock, you listen to him for years and years, he's always brought up like really controversial things, but
Yeah.
it's all okay, quote unquote, because he's a black guy talking about it from a black perspective, right? So there's definitely leeway there. But if you were to take, again, this movie is not perfectly translatable. You couldn't take it and just remake it.
Right.
It wouldn't fly. But you could change the jokes around so that I'd say, totally spitballing here, maybe you could save 75% of it.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you
there's
changed
definitely
it.
ways because they
Yeah.
still make.
Okay,
No,
if
there-
you-
there
because I think that's what it is.
And there are
It's-
some
there's
jokes
certain
you couldn't
jokes you
make.
you have to either change or just get rid of.
They do make
or-
spoof movies still. Like they're
Yeah.
still making these type of movies.
Yep.
Yeah, but they don't do it in this creative way, and they
No.
don't bring up a lot of
No,
like, you
they
wouldn't
do
No,
not.
I don't. I
you wouldn't have the
personally
pedo
don't.
conversation, although you might have a conversation where they're spotlighting like a priest and a kid, right? Where like that kind of comedy still goes,
That does. Yeah, it does fly.
and nobody,
Yeah.
nobody,
Well, yeah, there are certain like things that are still okay to make fun of,
which is weird, right?
Yeah.
It's a double standard.
It's
like,
a huge
it's
double
okay to
standard.
make jokes about the priesthood and kids,
Right.
but you can't make jokes about a regular pedophile and kids. Right?
Yeah.
Like, or just a guy, some
Yeah.
dude who's not a priest. So it's a weird, it's a weird dichotomy, right? If
It is
you-
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like any of those jokes, regardless.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, no.
I don't
Yeah.
think I don't think they're great. They're kind of lowbrow, but it's interesting what's acceptable.
Yeah, right. What the acceptable comedy is, and
The
where
double
that line
standards.
is, the double standards, right?
Yeah.
And I basically say that just kind of bring up like a devil's advocate,
Yeah.
Like again, there's plenty of ways that you can change this story where it absolutely still carries, but there are definitely certain ones that it's like, you know what, if you change it too much, then you're taking away from the joke originally, so you might as well just get rid of it. And I feel like there's certain ones that are like that, that it's like, again, the jive part, it's to change that in a way would kind of take away from the initial joke of, like you were saying, it's Mrs. Cleaver, like we know her from Leave It to Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver. That's his mom. So that's
funny.
see,
Gotcha.
but that's
And
what's
she was
funny
She
about
was like
it.
a wholesome white
A
woman.
wholesome, like a
Gotcha,
Donna
yeah.
Reed type person.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's, that's what makes that funny. To change that in a way where you're not really disrespecting anybody, it takes away from Mrs. Cleaver doing it. So if you're going to change it so much,
You could still have a Mrs. Cleaver. Again, I haven't thought this through. I'm just saying. Imagine you had
You could have her doing something
literally
else.
Mrs. Cleaver or someone very, very similar who's seen the same way.
No.
Doing something like that.
No.
Jive wouldn't make sense these days because nobody understands.
But maybe
what
like
that-
something
what that
else,
used to be.
something more acceptable.
Yeah, it's not really
like,
widely used or anything like that.
It's
so
certainly not a
that.
thing now in 2023. So
Maybe.
you wouldn't have.
Shit.
You'd have to change something else. You'd have to change it.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to be appropriating black culture. You could do some other culture if you wanted. If you're concerned about
Redneck's a fair game.
You,
Redneck's a pretty fair game,
Yeah,
man.
we can do that. So,
I think that's probably, that might be the only one that's fair.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair game. It's funny.
Because everybody shits on
Bill
that.
Burr talks about it all the time. He's like, I don't know why. Every time I try to, I do something where I'm trying to act stupid, I've launched into a southern accent, complete southern, just launch into that redneck accent.
like
I don't know
that's-
why. It's
that's
like,
the
it's
go-to,
like
right?
they're not inherently stupid people, but like it just, it's like every time we do it, there we go. I'm
Oh, it's okay. I speak redneck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can speak redneck. So that,
Yeah,
honestly,
that might work.
That could work.
That-
on to, nah, on to, I.
That'd
The
be
whole
perfect.
conversation.
No, I mean the southern accent can be tricky. I bought a motorcycle from a guy down in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so I flew down there, and this guy must have been from the woods. 'Cause,
You just happen to have a Ducati, and you're like,
yeah, he had a nice
bike
bike
going down.
And,
Wait, what?
and I literally had a hard time understanding what he was talking about. And I did my best. And luckily, I met up with a friend down there who lives in the area, and he's the one that connected
Does
us.
he speak redneck?
he did. He speaks wood.
He did speak redneck.
Speak wood.
And I'd be
Speak
like,
backwood.
tell me, this is jetted. Did you have any engine work done? And the kid be like, whatever. He'd say something, and I'd kind of look at my buddy and be
fucking
like,
translates.
I didn't catch all of that. And he'd be like, yeah, it's whatever. And he would talk about, it was. I was
Inexperience?
shocked. I was shocked. I did not think I would need a fucking translator.
You need an interpreter to speak English. What the
That's
fuck?
hilarious.
Speaking English now.
It's like, oh, can you tell him that I said this?
I mean, and I'm multilingual. It was a very strong accent.
Amy always had a hard time when she go to Nana's house. She speaks fluent Italian, but she speaks proper Italian. And we're at Nana's,
There's
and
nothing about
everybody's
hometown.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's speaking the dialect.
It's a strong dialect.
She's like, what? What did that just say?
Yeah.
So I'll bust it out every once in a while. She's like, if you teach our son that, I'm going to kill you. She's like, we will teach him proper Italian. So if he goes over there, he doesn't
King's
sound
Italian?
ridiculous.
So there's Roman Italian.
Roman Italian,
which is
yeah.
sort of what you're more northern Italian.
that's
The northern
what I'm
half of Italy is
That's
more.
how it is in Portugal too. There's mainland Portuguese with their dialect. Then there's the islands, and then the islands themselves have different dialects.
Yeah, because imagine these societies have been separated for
Yeah.
a long time, and so you develop the little quirks.
Yeah.
But like,
Like in that time, they shorten up everything. Like words just get shortened and chopped up a little bit
Yeah,
just to make
I
them
mean-
speak. Kind of like you're talking about the Southern. Like the words get chopped up a little.
it was
instead of
it
did
was
you
a
eat?
hell of a realization to me when I went to Italy as a teen. Because so I would go, we'd go almost every year. As you know, like my parents emigrated, so like I'm first generation. So like I only spoke Italian until I was 4. I didn't speak any English.
Same.
And so, you know, we'd go to my parents' hometown, essentially my hometown, and you speak to everybody. Everybody there speaks the same dialect.
Yep.
So then, like in my teens,
Venture
we'd go
out
to
of the
Rome.
town. Yeah.
We would go to Rome.
We look at you like, what the fuck is he saying?
And you're looking at you guys going, look at these fucking country bumpkins.
And here I am. That's exactly right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that I was like 14 when I realized, wow, they see me
As the redneck.
as the redneck. And because I was over there, because I speak fluently, but it was a fucking dialect.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, blah 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 blah, and they're like, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
nah, I don't know what you're saying,
They're like,
buddy.
I'm not. Yeah, you sound like an ignorant fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
you're
I'd
like,
be
I don't.
Oh my god.
and then like in the middle of that trip, I literally had like a come to Jesus like, oh my God, I don't fucking know Italian at all. Oh shit. I'm just gonna keep.
know Italian with that one town.
For like 4 days, I didn't speak another fucking word. I would speak like very like si, no, grazie, you know, just
Yeah,
very
yeah.
basic shit.
Yeah.
I'm not going sentences any longer because I was like, I don't want them to think that
You're
I'm
fucking
a
redneck,
goddamn
dude.
backwoods redneck.
so wild.
And so
Mountain kid.
that's
You
when
said
I
that
realized.
Yeah, like one of those mountain kids from the mountains. Get back on the fucking mountains.
It was a shock to my
Mountain
system.
kid goes to city. Go what?
Yeah. And it wouldn't have been so bad if I had grown up in Italy and gone there and be like, yeah, the Romans, they talk differently, you know, they blah, blah, blah. But like, no, I'm from the U.S. and I speak English well. And you know, and I look at the Southern accents sometimes and I'm like, they sound a little bit.
Southern?
Sounds a little bit Southern. You know,
A little
sounds
Southern.
You know,
Right.
backwoods, I'm
Southern
talking
Auto.
about backwoods.
Yeah.
And so,
Southern Auto, Kentucky.
and now here I
Like
am.
Deliverance time.
And here I am
like-
representing
Sorry,
that.
Kentucky listenership is just down the hill.
That's right.
Yeah. But here I am
don't have
representing
electricity.
All our
that in Italy, and
Southern
I was like,
listeners.
oh my
He
God.
turned it off.
You're one of them.
Wow, I'm one of them, right? And so then you realize, like, it gives you an open perspective. Like, you realize, like, these guys, it's just where they grew up. Doesn't mean they're smart or dumb. It's just, you know, it's just the way they speak.
Yeah.
But then I was like, all right, I'm going to fucking learn proper Italian.
But now to learn proper shit.
God damn it, I'm going to learn to pronounce these words the right way.
Yeah. So now you can do both.
Yeah.
You can go to
yeah.
Rome, you go to Southern. No, you're good either way.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
fine either way. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, is that knowing two different kinds of Italian?
Almost.
100%.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I wanted to say sit down in proper Italian, it's siediti là, right? If I wanted to say it in my hometown, it'd be ascida yes.
Oh wow.
Very different.
Those are wildly
It's a completely different
Oh
sentence.
no.
Sounds nothing alike. Ascida yes mo. You know, you're like, oh fuck.
In Rome was looking at you like, what did you just say to me?
What?
Shit on my what?
So, I go to Portugal. My cousin comes in, asks me where I put my clothes. I tell her, I put it in the closetto. She looks at me and goes, what? In my head, that's closet. That's how we say closet in Portuguese, closetto. You know, you add an A to the word closet and it's closetto.
Boom.
Boom, done.
Done.
So I say that to my cousin. She looks at me, she goes, yeah?
Say it again, I'll smack you.
And she goes, you know, where's your clothes? Now, this is all obviously all in Portuguese. I says, oh, you know, I put my clothes in the closetto. She goes, okay. So she leaves. My father comes back in the
Like, I don't know
room.
what the fuck he's talking about.
My father comes back in the room and goes, what the hell did you just say? I says, what do you mean? He goes, she comes in and says, you were saying some words that she doesn't know what you're saying. He goes, what happened? I go, she comes in the room, asks where I put my clothes. I told her where I put my clothes. He goes, what did you say you put your clothes? I go, in the closet. He goes, how did you say it?
How did you say it?
And I go, I told her that I put my clothes.
I think Larry's having a stroke.
I told her that I put my clothes in the closet. He goes, yeah.
Yeah, that's
not a real word. I go, what do you mean that's not a real word? I go, my whole life.
Yes.
That's what I was taught. He goes, yeah, that's an Americanized word. I go, what the hell's the word I'm looking for? He goes, guarda fat. I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, what was that? It's completely different. It's like, because you put like your shirts and stuff in like an armoire type thing in the forward chest drawer, but your hang-up clothes you put in, it's the guarda fat. That's the way you put your suits and your hang-ups.
Ah, gotcha.
We're American. Closetta. Closetta.
Boom.
For years.
There's like 4 words like that I could, Stua, there's no such word as Stua. Stoor. You put an A at the end of the word store, and it becomes no.
I mean, you're that's all over the Italian language.
Right, yeah.
You go to like Long Island, they're talking about gabagool and fucking
Gabagool.
pasta fagioli.
Yeah.
Those are not words.
Right.
Those are not words. It's pasta fagioli.
Fagioli, yeah.
You know, so like, cut that shit out.
So I got the Italian friends, and that's why I know that stuff.
Yeah. So my grandmother,
Have your caprese salad.
the caprese salad. That's a great story. Oh my god! But at least that came from like someone else, right? It wasn't in my family.
You're like, you're an ass.
Yeah, but my grandmother, who grew up in Italy and spoke perfect Italian, well, perfect whatever.
Perfect
Something. Perfect backwoods.
When we came over here, she eventually kind of did the whole American English
Americanized
Italian
certain
thing.
words, yeah.
And so she'd be like, "Here's have some cake." Okay, so she'd take the word cake and put an A on the end, right? And
Cake.
So the funny thing about her was that like,
but wait, here's the kicker. In proper Italian, cake is slang for a gay person. It'd be the same as saying faggot.
Oh.
Yeah, not good.
Not good.
And I had no idea. So
I see where this is going.
I go to Italy as a 14-year-old.
And
my cousin was there, and I was like, she's like, "You want some? Do you want some?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have some cake." And
bring around the one strange.
And her eyes fucking bugged out. Look at me like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have some cake." And she understood, right? She was like, "Oh, you just don't know what the fuck you're saying." and she started to laugh, and she was crying by the time she was done.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Let me just tell you that the proper word for that is torta." And I knew that, but I just didn't use it because my grandmother used keka.
And there was like no difference.
And there's no like,
In my
what's
head,
the difference? Torta and
in
cake
my
is-
head, she leaves, goes out
my God.
downtown, and
Oh
brings
my
back
God.
a guy who's just eyeballing you a little too weird. Like,
And you're like, I don't know
No,
what-
that's not what I want. That's not what I want.
That's like when people come over and they say like bish,
Yeah.
you know, for fish or something. Like just
No, that's
like
not
I've
what
heard that before, and you go like, oh no. You got to define those a little bit
So
more.
our grandmother was funny because she would she came here, she wanted to speak English. So during the 80s, she tried hard and hard to speak English, and eventually just reverted back to Italian. Like, fuck this, I'm done, I'm getting
too
old.
tough, yeah.
It's
She
too
just didn't
issue.
have anybody to speak English with.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
that-
Well,
that's
so,
what makes it
but the
tough.
kicker,
All of her
but-
friends were Italian.
But the kicker was, she'd speak to like your mother or Mata. She'd speak to them in English because they're all. And then she'd speak to my mother in Italian. My mom was like, "What is she doing? I don't speak Italian." She knows I don't speak Italian, but she's talking to her daughter who speaks perfect Italian in English. What the hell's happening right now? Stop trying to speak to me in Italian. I don't know what you're saying.
I remember her speaking a lot of it in Italian, but like, I remember when I brought like my girlfriends or my wife over, she'd be speaking to them in Italian. They're like, I don't know what she's
Well, that's why they loved Amy because
You're
she
like,
speaks
no,
Italian.
No Italian.
About Italiano.
And the
Yeah,
best part was
Italiano.
like, the best part was like when you had a name, whatever. It's always most of the names end in a vowel.
Yes.
So if you have a vowel at the end of the name, she threw on extra letters. So my ex-wife's name was Amanda. So it was like Samandala.
Oh.
Just say Amanda. It ends in an A. It ends in a vowel. She had to throw a la at the end of it just to kind of. I gotta make this more Italian
to make it more
apparently. It's not
ethnic,
Italian
I guess.
enough. She called it like Amandala or Samandala. Like just Amanda. Just cut it. Just cut it short. My mother's name is Diane. She called Diana.
Diana.
At least Diana.
Menaka.
Diana is
Yeah.
the Italian version.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That makes sense. That's
That makes a
fair.
little more
Poor
sense.
Max.
Yeah, Massimo.
Yeah.
So Max's name is just Max.
She was
It's nothing else. It's not Massimo. It's not Max. Maximiliano. Nothing. It's just Max.
Just Max.
So she would call him Massimo because
like, we're not
she
calling
was
him
like-
Max.
She's like, we're not going to call him. No, she was like,
No,
she was
no,
like,
Really? No.
what was the Family Guy?
The-
She's like, no. We
the
know-
housekeeper.
Yeah, the housekeeper. No. We know.
We're not calling him Max.
We call him
Massimo.
Massimo. Yeah.
Menaka.
Yeah.
So, well, there it is. Naked. There it is. What are we talking about?
Well,
airplane.
Yeah, we went to
Man, that was such a funny movie
20
about
minutes on not airplane.
Not airplane.
That's all right.
You're welcome.
Little history of the Zola Tramatozzi family, a little bit of the Larry's family.
Yeah.
Mila?
Well, all I have to interject is I have an Italian family in my mom's side, but apparently they spoke Italian and never let me know that at all. So I'm like, I only figured this out like within the last 5 years. Like we're watching something and suddenly they're like speaking Italian and my mom's like, oh, they're saying this, and I'm like, hey, yo, what do you mean by that?
5 years
I'm
ago,
like-
you're like,
Why did you not tell me this?
Right? I'm like, you mean you knew Italian this whole time? And
like,
you never
yeah.
cared to share with me?
oh man.
So I had a chance. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I kind of grew up
'Cause at
very
least-
similar. My mother
Yeah.
doesn't speak fluent Italian.
Yeah.
Her mother's side's Italian, but her father's side's not. So they didn't speak Italian.
Yeah, my
did.
father's side
But she
is
didn't know what my
absolutely
father was
not.
saying. You know what I mean? She learned it by being near the family. So like my father didn't speak to me, even in the accent, even with the dialect. He didn't speak to me. So I don't speak this fluently like these guys do, because both your parents are from there. Both my parents were
Yeah.
not.
Right.
So it was
It's
like if you
harder.
talked
Yeah.
to me in Italian, my mother wouldn't understand what he was talking about. So he
It's
didn't.
an opportunity
Yeah.
for her to learn while you're
Yeah,
talking.
well,
Yeah.
she she's okay now with the dialect. It's still useless.
I have a funny story about that, Mila. So when
Yeah.
I was, like I said, I only spoke Italian until I was 4, and then I only started to learn English when I went to
ESL?
kindergarten. I was definitely
Same.
ESL.
That's
And like
same.
I stuttered for a while because I was trying to translate in my head.
Yeah.
So in first grade, they were like, "We're gonna do King for the day. Everybody, one person at a time. You're gonna bring your dad in and tell us about, and he can talk about himself." So my dad comes in, and I'm all proud, and here's my dad, and I said to my teacher in my class, "Don't worry if you have any questions, tell them to me. I'll translate for you because my dad's Italian, right?" So then my dad goes, "No, it's okay, Bruno. I speak English," in like perfect English. I was like, my head exploded.
Motherfucker, I got a stutter,
Bastard.
and you speak perfect English.
That's
I
what
got
I
a
heard.
stutter because of this, and you got perfect. I'm gonna kill
That's
you.
when
my
I heard.
God.
That was the first time I heard him speak English
Fucking one eye
in my
open,
life.
buddy.
That was
One
the
eye
first
open.
time.
Yeah,
Brother.
because I would go with him to work, but he would speak Italian to all of his
everybody
he worked
everybody-
with.
right.
It was all community, right?
Damn.
Yep.
And so and I was like, "What the fuck is going on right now?"
Like
Teacher,
in
look
front
at you
of the
going,
class.
Is this really your father?
In front of the class.
Possibly.
You're
I don't
like,
think this is his
Sorry,
father.
teacher. I just met him outside.
Yeah, exactly. It's the guy I found outside. My dad couldn't make it today.
It was crazy.
Damn.
It was wild.
And my dad did that to me. We were up at the Rufos one time in New Hampshire, where we were all sleeping over there for New Year's or whatever. And one of the
This is when he started speaking Spanish.
Yes, you remember that,
I
right?
was
We were all in
there.
the basement.
I was
All of a
there.
sudden, one of his cousin's husband, who we didn't really like very much, and he was a little bit tipsy, more than tipsy.
Yeah.
They're having an issue. They've been playing cards all night, and then it just blew up, as you imagine.
Oh,
Some shit was
okay.
going down. Things weren't going so
He
smooth.
the guy made an inappropriate comment, I think. about
Something
your
like
wife-
that, yeah,
about your
exactly.
mom.
I was kind of half asleep. My dad stood up. I thought my dad was going to kill him. We all kind of jumped up because they started screaming. My dad's just berating him in perfect Spanish. I'm like, the fuck do you speak Spanish? I've never heard you speak. I mean, Italian and Spanish are so similar. And he hung out when he came. He hung out with a lot of people.
Well, was it when he
You
was
know what I
playing
mean,
on
in
the
Boston.
teams?
Yeah, he's been in
Yeah.
Boston teams, a lot of Spanish.
Yeah.
The guys picked it up. They're very similar.
Yeah,
Like,
so I was gonna say
I've
that. I
never heard
mean,
you.
my uncle Joe, he speaks Portuguese fluently, Italian fluently, French fluently, Spanish fluently, and he also does. He also speaks
French is the only one in there that's super different.
right, but he also speaks like the Brazilian Portuguese, but with the Brazilian accent. And if anybody's, they're not the same.
Yeah.
The way the Brazilians speak Portuguese, it's different. It's different dialect. The way that they carry their words, it's a little different. They have words.
To me,
Right, right.
to me, the Brazilian Portuguese sounds like a drunk Spaniard. To me, when I listen to Spanish and then I listen to Brazilian Portuguese, it seems like a Spanish guy who's drunk and is just trying to slur in his words.
Yeah, kind of, sort
Yeah,
of. That's a great
no,
way to look at it. But my
I've
Uncle Joe
heard a lot
couldn't
of
speak
it.
it, fluently. And one day I sat there, I was like, that's amazing. How did you do that? He goes, I paid attention in school. I'm like, what kind of shit is that?
Bullshit.
What are you trying to say?
No
I
way.
feel attacked.
He's like you. You're a
I
little.
feel-
Oh, yeah.
Attention at school.
I
But
feel
again,
attacked right now.
but with him though, it's the years of playing soccer too.
Yeah.
Because I also come from a soccer family,
I'm
and my
canceling him.
uncles,
Yeah.
they played with all sorts of
All
different
these guys,
people.
you pick it up.
No.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
There it is.
So April was cool.
So, yeah, airplane.
Yeah, funny movie. Very good.
A whole
So-
different podcast.
I know, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull a page out of
I'm not editing any of
Bruno's
this, but I'm not
book.
editing any of this out, by the way.
That's fine. I'm gonna pull a page out of Bruno's book.
Bring it.
Budget
Oh, budget.
3.5 million. That was the
that's
budget.
nothing.
That's
That
nothing.
is, oh my God.
I mean, it's 1980s, 3.5 million.
I mean, essentially, it looked
But
like they had like
still
2
not bad.
sets max.
Superman was
Still-
84, and that was 19 million.
Right.
Gross.
All right, let me guess. Worldwide or just in the U.S. What number do you have?
I have a very large number.
No, but is it a worldwide number?
I'm not. You know what? I didn't write that. I just saw that when it said for gross.
Okay, I'm going to guess your number. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm going to guess if it was in the. I'm going to give you 2 numbers: worldwide and national, right? And see if one comes closer. I'm going to say, in the U.S., it grossed 120 million, and national, like worldwide, 175.
Ooh, so the number I have is the worldwide number. I just double checked. 171 worldwide.
Wow, that was
IMDb
close.
That's an absolute
Damn.
You're
random
on an airplane?
guess.
Wow.
Well, that's amazing because IMDb is wrong on their worldwide because they says that gross and worldwide gross are two the same number, so that's obviously useless.
Yeah.
The
Oh, that
U.S.
can't be
was
right.
83.
Oh, and I said 75. Not bad.
Yeah.
Damn,
No, I
that
didn't.
was
I
pretty
said
close.
120.
US was
I said
Oh, yeah, no,
123.
you pumped it up a little
Obviously,
bit.
their worldwide gross is miscalculated because it's exactly the same as U.S.
Oh, it's the same number. So
Yeah.
maybe they just
Oh
did
yeah,
that.
I'm actually on another one and it has the same exact number.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no.
Like all time domestic 83, all time worldwide 83. I'm like, no, that's not how that works.
That's not at all.
You mean to tell me
That's
that
not how any of this works.
So the number I got was 171 million worldwide gross, and I mean, still, the fucking budget was 3.6 million.
It was
Now-
basically a July
now-
4th weekend
That's
release, July
insane.
2nd.
Now,
That's
granted,
insane.
not much of a
171 worldwide is the number, yeah.
So there's
Tagline. You've read the ad, now see the movie.
There you go.
Perfect.
I mean, not for nothing. There, the set was what? A cockpit?
Yeah.
The plane.
Yeah. The plane,
fuselage,
and then
yeah.
like
A little bit of the airport.
Yeah,
airport.
one lane of the plane to like just like
Yeah.
Just
So,
the
so,
fuselage.
The
so,
alley.
so I mean, like, there wasn't a lot of set, really.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
and then there was like
on the home, right?
the home, and then lastly there was the station where they're at
Yeah, the airport.
airport.
Control tower, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I meant.
yeah,
control
so
tower.
yeah, the tower, the actual plane itself, like inside
Right.
the cockpit that they spent a lot of that time in.
Mostly, yeah.
You know, so like they don't.
I can help you out here. The locations are like Los Angeles International Airport.
Mm-hmm.
You had Westward Beach for Lane's flashback. The African Village.
Yeah.
They do that stuff. The Chicago O'Hare runway and the bar fight scene, like the main locations.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then basically the other stuff was in Studio City.
Okay,
Studio
so
City for, like, the
yeah,
house and the other parts.
yeah.
of the
So
airport.
there's not a lot of.
Not much at all.
You know, I mean, yeah, his house is probably something that they built that they've used for like 3,000 other movies.
And
They're like, hey,
it was
we need to see-
1980. They weren't paying them millions of dollars each.
So that's another thing too. It's like, I mean, who was the most? As far as what you're paying these people,
Leslie Nielsen.
he's getting a nice little check probably.
Yeah.
Kareem isn't because Kareem's playing for the Lakers at that time.
And Kareem was probably just like camoing. He's just happy to be there, right?
Yeah, he's like,
Oh, that
whatever.
was really funny.
And
I
that was
was
actually
like,
a
oh.
good part. She was, the little kid, he was like, "Oh my God, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar." He's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about, kid. That's not me." Well, my dad says that you need a.
You dragged them up the court, down the court.
Yeah.
He's like, it says you sucked in basketball at the defense. He's like, you know what, kid? That's something I've been getting ever since I was back in UCLA. You tried dragging his ass, up and down the court for 90 minutes.
45 minutes,
I was like,
yeah.
oh shit. And then they
Lloyd
carry him out
Bridges.
after he gets sick. He's in his gear.
Look at the part with Lloyd Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges
He's
probably
at his
got paid a
desk,
bunch.
and behind him is a picture of him at his desk.
That-
With a
yeah,
picture of him.
Oh yeah, with the
yeah,
cigarette
yeah.
or something or cigarette. Yeah.
And he throws the cigarette out the window.
Thing blows up. But yeah, this was an awesome fucking movie.
Yeah.
I know that we veered off it like we normally do and talked
That's
about
okay.
a lot of other
Like
shit.
big time, but it was
Yeah.
still good. You know,
This is a great little movie.
absolutely.
It was well done.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, like
it was
we
very
talked about, it
clever.
doesn't necessarily, you can't remake exactly the same way, but I don't care. I watch this movie often. This is definitely on my rewatch list. I'll go back and watch. I
You can't
watched
make it-
I don't
you
think
can't
I
make
probably
it
watched it. Like, I think it was
though.
6 months
Yeah.
ago.
Yep.
I finally I had Amy watch this movie. Like, it was like 6 months ago because I will go back to this at least once a year. You know what I mean?
This for me was like one of those movies that we talk about, like, what glasses do you wear when you watch? This is definitely a movie that you got to watch in the 80s.
You have to watch it with the 80s
You
glasses.
have
Oh,
to
yeah.
watch it with
Oh,
the 80s
yeah.
mind, the 80s glasses. That's how you have to watch this movie because, there's a lot of shit that
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or just watch the movie and enjoy it for being
I
a
mean,
fucking
yeah, you could do
comedy.
that.
No,
I don't know.
absolutely, but it's tough with people to like somebody who's watching it for the first time. You know, say, hey, go back and watch this, even if especially if
Yeah.
they're younger.
Yeah.
If they're not our age,
I
then
get
it's
it.
tougher.
I get
Yeah,
it.
if I tried to
We'd
show it
love
to
to
my
tell them
friends,
just
I
watch
feel
this
like
and
a
enjoy.
few of them would be like
Just
questionable,
laugh.
and I'm like, no, I swear.
Yeah, it's all right.
You
It's
know?
really funny.
I swear it's funny. Like, oh god,
If you,
no,
if
you
you
just
want to
gotta
be
watch
offended
it.
by stuff, you'll find a way to be offended. No matter
Absolutely.
what. So just
Yeah.
just
But if you-
enjoy.
A
Yeah.
lot of time being offended is a
Enjoy
choice.
it for being a movie that was made in the 80s, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely.
There's no changing it really. It's just the way it is.
It's
And
like-
honestly, it's a mess. It's so good.
But I mean, that's the advice too. Like, obviously, we're on a podcast and talking to people about the movie. If you're easily offended by that kind of stuff, don't watch it. Don't watch it. There's plenty of other stuff you
Because
can watch.
this is the last movie you should watch if you are.
It's one of the
This
last
is-
movies that you should
this
watch.
is absolutely
This and Big Trouble in Little China.
not.
Like, don't
Yeah.
watch the
well,
movies.
a Big Trouble in Little China was a little more than that.
That's
Well, that's because it came from.
that's a
I
big
feel
step
like
over the line.
that
Big Trouble.
one came that one came from a place of like not from like true comedy.
No.
That came
So
from
that's what makes
that's
it
where
appropriate.
that's the difference is
the
because it's where it
difference.
comes from with the what's the intent behind
Yeah,
it.
that was
Like,
Is the
appropriate
intent to
time.
make
Super
fun
racist
of
movie.
this?
It just happened to be like you watch it now, you're like, "Ooh, that's kind of racist the way you're doing that.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, there was
supposed
a
to be
bunch of
tropey
cringing
stuff.
watching
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
ooh,
and
oh.
exactly the
Yeah, this
intent
is
behind
being-
this
this
was
is poking
just to
fun
poke
at
fun of everything.
Things
Yeah,
like racism or things like that, and the tropes of.
It's a different. They couched it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. All right, that was awesome. Thank you, gang. I appreciate that. Mila, thank you.
Thank you.
What are we
Glad-
giving it?
Oh, crap, we got to rate these
How
things.
many?
don't we?
What airplanes?
Yeah, this is only
No, that one's too
All
easy.
right. Let's see.
How many?
How many autos?
How many autos?
How many
How many
autos?
happy endings?
I'll go first. I'm gonna give it 4.
Yeah, no, that's solid. No, I think no, it's a 4 for me too.
There's nothing I'm cutting out of it. Even with today's eyes, I watch it knowing what I'm watching, and we've already hit that on countless times. It's if you feel that you're gonna be offended, don't watch it. That tough shit.
Yeah.
But everything on this really hits. Again, all the slapstick humor was all money, so I'm giving it a strong 4.
Yep.
Jim never vomits at home.
You never vomit at home. That should have been the quote.
I'm going with. I'll give him 4 too. I like it. It was so clever,
Yeah.
and like especially for 1980.
Yeah.
It was well done.
Beat for beat, good.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 as well. I want to give it a 4.5, and I know this is not a very popular opinion. I'm not a huge, Robert Stack fan. I mean, Robert Hayes fan. I know he's the straight man. I don't find him, I find him a little too dry and awkward. And this movie, and this isn't him, this is the way they wrote his character, I find him just really whiny. He's really pissy and whiny through this whole movie.
Yeah, but I think he's supposed to be.
I know, and my stance on
So you're
whiny.
you're blaming him for the movie.
No, I'm not blaming Robert Hayes. I'm blaming the characters written that way. And my stance on whiny fucking characters.
Yeah, no,
You know
you
what?
do.
Yeah,
You do have
yeah.
a hill with that, so I
Yeah.
don't blame you.
And
I don't blame
and
you.
I get that. I 100% get that because the
I
person
work
would
with-
be great.
It's part of the story. Remember,
I
her
love
whole-
working with kids, but I work with a lot of whiny people. Like, that's just kid nature. I have a kid. He can whine. It is. So I go to the movies. I don't want to hear 2 hours of somebody just whining their ass through the movie.
I mean, it's just the way their story was written. Like,
Yeah.
she divorced him because he couldn't get over shit, and he was kind of whiny about it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
Yeah.
No, they never got divorced. They never got
character.
married.
Yeah,
Oh, all right.
they were like.
But she separated.
They were
You're right.
sweethearts.
Yeah, you're right. There's
But they
something-
just-
She left him and started going out with the
split.
other guy.
They split.
Yeah, she started going out with the other guy, the pilot or whatever. So, it just, I don't know, I just have a hard time watching whiny characters on screen.
That's
It's just,
cool.
Yeah,
right?
that's fine.
Fuck, I don't like Ben Stiller for that reason. I don't like. I mean, so that's why I 100% get it. It's
People
just-
felt
I
that same way
understand.
about Hayden Christensen when
Yeah.
he was played, Anakin.
I didn't like him as Anakin because he
Yeah.
fucking wanted the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Right, it's just
I
a
get
hard
it.
time.
Makes you not want to like the guy. You're like, fuck you. You won. Everything I've seen, you won. I don't like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Eat the
just,
bag.
I just want to, if that was written a little differently, in that way, a little less whiny, still like more of like, I want to go get her back, and I'm the hero, and I'm going to go get her, not sort of like pissy and whiny, you left me. Then I would be more apt to give it a 4.5, because this movie is definitely awesome.
I loved all the dramatic speeches that they give each other. It's like a throwback to like the 30s movies, like when they're in the hall, he's like, but you don't understand.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. It's like the
was the
trope.
best parody.
Like the trope. So, I mean,
This is a good parody.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you. Great work today, Bruno.
Stop calling me Shirley.
Thank you, Mila.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are Entertainment Rant at entertainmentrants.com. Find us online and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know what you thought of Airplane if you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Then let us know what you thought of the show.
Do.
Put on your big person pants and let us know what you thought of the show, all right? We appreciate it, guys. What are we going to go out there and do?
Rant, let's rant. Hashtag let's rant.
Holy shit, Larry.